and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to press conference reaction, guys. We have them back on the channel here because we are going to be going through all of the quotes from Hansi Flick ahead of Barça versus Villarreal. And I thought his conference today, I knew that it would be. It was fascinating because he had question after question after question. They wanted excuses. The journalists there wanted Hansi to complain. He did not have any of it. It was so interesting to listen to. And today, there's really intriguing words as well on Ansu Fati, Alejandro Balde, Eric Garcia, Marc-Andre, Ter Stegen. It is all coming up for you here. I hope you enjoy, again, the press reaction. Let's do this. Because today, I do want to give some very special super thanks shout-outs here. One coming in from Mongolia. I've been watching the channel for years. With Flick, we are sure to bounce back stronger. And I've also got here greetings from Auckland. I've been following your channel for 4 years. I'm confident that we will go deep in the Champions League. And also here, support coming in again from Nigeria. Still angry at Ter Stegen. Been watching as well for many years. So thank you there for that absolutely fantastic support, guys. But let's kick off here with the main man, Hansi Flick, and what he had to say following the defeat to Monaco, because I had a feeling today the journalists, they'd be wanting something from him. They'd be wanting some sign there of frustration, you know, the lots of games, injury problems, things like this. So he was asked there, how do you feel returning from the defeat against Monaco? And Flick said, it's exactly what I said after the match, that I told the players that we did see good things in the defeat in the end. We've only had one loss so far this season. He said, so we're looking forward to the match against Villarreal, and we want to approach it with the same passion that we played with on Thursday with 10 players. And you will notice right throughout this video here, I think Flick was really proud of the way the team played with 10 on Thursday. I think there he really appreciated that kind of effort. And on the media there and what has been said after the game, he said, I don't care much about what happens outside. He said, for us, what's important is to analyse the match. We've got to be honest with the players, whether we lose, whether we win. He said, we analyse the game every single time. But he said, it was not a bad performance from us on Thursday. He said, so I'm very positive about tomorrow. And I think it's a good thing there that Flick already, he's not paying attention to what's going on outside the club. That is the best thing that he can do there. As the Barca coach, only focus on what you're doing. Your relationship, your work there with the players, that is all that is important right now. Because Flick was then asked about the start to the season the team had in La Liga, the 5 successive wins, and he was basically asked there, did you expect that to happen? You know, realistically, were you thinking that that could be a possibility to your start at the club? And Flick basically said there, when you think positively, that's always what you hope for. He said the results only helped as well to increase the belief in what we are doing here at the club. And he said again, I know that we lost against Monaco, but the way that I saw them defend with only 10 players for all of that game there, 80 minutes of the game, he said when you get into trouble, you know, when things start to become difficult, is when somebody only gives 90% effort or 80% effort. He said that's when you've got a problem. But again, he was really proud of what the team did against Monaco in difficult circumstances, the way they work, the foundations there that he can see, he feels are very encouraging. Because on Villarreal, Flick is under no illusion here. It's a tough match. He said they score a lot of goals, they defend well, they're very focused, and he actually said there, it's what I love about Spanish football, that every team can play with the ball. He said that's what we all like to see, but he also said, we will get our chances to score on Sunday. So Flick there understanding it's going to be tricky. He said he's analysed Villarreal in some detail, but of course he remains confident. But this is then when it started to get interesting there, because the journalist started saying to Flick, well, this is the 3rd game here in the space of 7 days. This is a really difficult calendar. How are you managing everything? Is it possible to do it with this amount of games? And Flick straight up said, when I started the season, I told you, no excuses. I will not make excuses. And he said, I meant no excuses. He said, we are able to manage this situation. He said, we do have to take care of some players because they have a very big workload. We need to bring in fresh legs at times, but he said everybody will bring their best performance. He wouldn't allow himself to be drawn into that there to say, oh, well, yeah, it is a lot of games. You know, this is a very difficult period for us. He's saying, no, we're not making excuses. I told you I will not do it. And do you want to guess what the very next question that he was asked was? It was about the fixtures. It was about the games there. Do you have enough to compete genuinely in all competitions this season? So Flick, off the back of that answer, was then asked, well, do you have enough for all the games? Can you compete across all the competitions? He said, I never think about that either. I'm not thinking about things in that way. He said, we have already shown how well we can play. It's always the same in any league, he said. You will lose a few players. You'll have some players out injured. But he said, you've got to prepare the players then who can play. And those who are here have to give 100%. And he said, that is what I see every day in training. So we are on the right path. Which then led another question. And this is what I mean here, guys. It was one after another here. Just wanting something from Flick. Wanted to see him start to crack in some way, maybe. He was asked then about all of those injured players. The question was, well, you've got so many players out. You've got so many different players. You're waiting to come back. Is that difficult? And Flick again said, I don't count those players. He said, I don't really think about it in that way. I never think, oh, I've got 8 players out missing that aren't yet ready to come back. He said, I only focus on those who are here, on those who are able to play. He said, it's much, much better for a coach to think in this way. He said on Frankie de Jong, he's doing well. The situation with him was not easy. It's exactly the same with Gavi as well. And he said, I'm really happy to see them part of the group again, joining in with the Rondos. But he said they need time. And again, he's just reinforcing here, it's full focus on what we can do now, what we have available now. We're not looking for excuses. We're not looking for things that aren't going our way. The only focus is the players, the training, and the work. Which is actually quite funny, because then the next question, guys, was actually, again, about the amount of games that players are playing. And it was really interesting, actually, because this was a sort of better question. It was a general question about the game. You know, are players, are teams playing too many games? Is the fixture schedule getting out of control? And Flick actually wanted to make sure here what that question was. He said, do you mean our matches? Are you talking about us having too many matches? Or are you talking about everyone? And when he understood there, the question was a general one, you know, it wasn't going to be an excuse. He did say, I personally believe that UEFA and FIFA, they've got to take more care of the players. He said, we all love football, we all love watching football, but we all love good, high-quality performances. And if you want that quality on the highest level, you have to reduce the number of matches. And I think we all feel that same way, guys. We don't want things to become saturated. We don't want here to be overplaying players to the point where they can never actually play at their best level because they're playing so often. So that is definitely something that has to be addressed on the highest level of football. Before then, Flick was indeed asked, and I'm surprised that it took so long to sort of talk about individuals from that Monaco defeat there, because first of all, he was asked about Eric Garcia. Did you speak with him after the game? Did you need to talk to him after the mistake, after the red card? And actually, it was interesting what Flick said, because he said, I've spoken to Eric, you know, plenty, but only about his position. He did not speak to him there specifically about what happened. He said he prefers to play as a centre-back, but right now, we might need him as a 6 in this team. We might need to deploy him in midfield, but he said, for the red card, it happens. He's doing well, and he can play tomorrow. So Flick didn't really go into much detail there about whether, you know, it was Garcia's mistake, whether there he spoke with him about him making that error if he felt that it was his fault, because then when we go on to talk about Ter Stegen, because the question on him was, have you asked him to take less risks? Have you asked him there to change the way that he plays from the back? And look, that's not what we're asking for. You know, nobody believes that Barca need to change their whole style. We just need to cut out the mistakes, because Flick said it is one of Marc's strengths with the ball. He said this is our style of play. We want him to build from the back. It all starts with him. And then he said, maybe there was a mistake, but everybody can make mistakes. And the important thing is to learn something from that. He was really, really keen to stress that we must learn from these errors. But he said it's done now, and we must look forward there. So Flick turning the page on that, but stressing we must learn. We must learn from the mistakes that we have made. Before he then went on to talk, and I thought this was an absolutely fascinating quote here on Alejandro Balde, because the journalist basically asked there, how is Balde doing? How is his morale, of course? How's he feeling given that this season he's come back after what was last season a very, very long and difficult time for him with injury problems? And I thought what Flick said, like I say, really intriguing. He said he's doing well, he's feeling good, but he can always improve. He must always strive to improve. He said, especially, for instance, in the final third. He said, I love that he's always involved. I love that he's always open to receive the ball. He's always taking up some great positions. And Flick said specifically there, I feel that Balde is one of those players who has the most space. That's what he said, space to improve at Barça. He said, and we're going to train with him. We are going to work very hard with him. He did say that right now, because of all of these games, it's hard to sort of train individually, specifically work on things with players. But he said, when the time comes, we will work with him because he always has to look to improve. So that's really exciting there. We've spoken before about Balde, his potential, the ability, the characteristics that he has. There is lots of potential there. There is lots of room for him to grow and improve and develop. And I really do think that under Flick, we can definitely see that happen. But what about Ansu Fati? Because Flick was asked there, of course, about his return to the team, finally there welcoming Ansu back and into this Hansi Flick side. What are your feelings on him and what are your aspirations for Ansu this season? And he said it's the same with him as with the others. When you come back from an injury, you've got to go slowly. You've got great communication there with him and the medical staff. But he said we want to give him minutes. We want to see him in this team because that's the way that he's going to be able to return to the starting 11. And I thought the last quote here from Flick, fascinating as well, because what he said, what I see from him now, what I'm witnessing from him, he's on another level. That's what Flick said here today. He said Ansu is on another level right now, and I believe that he can help us a lot. And the way that I feel with Flick and Ansu Fati is that he really does believe in him here. Every single time that he's seeing him in training, the conversations they're having together, I think Flick has a lot of faith in him, and I think we are going to see him build up those minutes, work his way back into the team, because as Flick says, he can definitely help us a lot. And hopefully we're going to start to see that from Sunday. So indeed, guys, that right there was what Hansi Flick had to say today in his Barcelona press conference. And personally, I love listening to him. I absolutely love there the way that he was conveying his thoughts, his ideas. Really, really fascinating stuff. And please do let me know, guys, one, if you enjoyed this kind of video. Again, would you like to see press conference reactions here return to the channel in a more permanent capacity? Please drop a like if you did enjoy the concept, and let me know your thoughts on everything Hansi Flick had to say today. I will see you later on, of course, for the full match preview. But until next time, guys, as always, Visca, El Barça.